This week on Did Y'all See, we're talking about Nicki Minaj and Taylor Swift having bad blood and the Houston mother who left her children in the food court during a job interview. See what we have to say about these topics on Did Y'all See. Welcome to this special episode of Did Y'all See, and it's very special because someone has an announcement.
Hey y'all. So I have good news. I'm getting married. That's all.
So, did y'all see that this week MTV announced their VMA nominations, and Nicki Minaj was a little disappointed. She was a little tart. She was nominated. It wasn't like she didn't receive any nominations, but she didn't receive a nomination for Video of the Year, and she felt like Feeling Myself with Beyonce and Anaconda should have been nominated. And she said, she felt like black women influence and push pop culture so much, but they're often erased from it. They're never celebrated for it. It's always, a white woman who gets the credit for doing what black women have been doing. So Taylor Swift randomly jumped in the conversation as if it was a personal attack against her. And Nicki Minaj had to tell her, girl, I'm not even talking about you. What's the problem? But what do you think about Nicki Minaj's point? Do you think she has a point? Do you think Anaconda and Feeling Myself were worthy of Video of the Year?
I don't know that it was Video of the Year because I don't even think Bad Blood was worthy of that nomination. Mm-hmm. So I don't really want to get into that too much, but I feel like Nicki makes a decent point with the pop culture thing, but I just think it was the wrong timing. Right. Because it's like you kind of inserted yourself, this is a self-serving thing at this point. You haven't always been advocating for all the black women who influence pop culture who haven't been getting recognition. You're mainstream, you feel in some type of way because you weren't nominated for this specific award. And I don't know, maybe it's apples and oranges, but speaking of awards, you were the same person who was at BET a month ago accepting an award and you didn't even know what the award was for. I feel like Nicki Minaj has she's kind of arrogant. She has a self-entitlement issues, and I feel like she needs to humble herself a little bit.
If you really, like Jasmine said, if you really want to stick up for other women, then it's then you should have Tink and other people in your videos or do songs with them so they can get recognized, so they can get where you are. Because honestly, a few years ago, nobody was checking for you. 2009 at the VMAs. When you were just coming up, no one, especially little white kids, weren't as enthralled with you as they are today.
It would be nice if she was just one of those kinds of artists. If it was like a Missy or somebody, and you're saying we've done this, we've worked hard, and y'all always push us out. But you're the only female rapper getting any kind of love. You're the only female rapper who you've won best female rap artist at BET Awards however many times. And in a way, like you said, she gets up there and she doesn't even know what award she's winning. You've won so many times from us that you don't even appreciate the accolades. But when the white folks are here's some, and they give you award nominations, but they don't give you Video of the Year, you're freaking out. You're upset about a video not being nominated for Video of the Year that's just about ass. Ass and bananas that look like penises and all kinds of very random things.
Honestly, no, Nicki Minaj really only steps to the platform when she's speaking about herself. That we've all seen that. Because she did make a decent point about how people had a problem with her Anaconda single cover. But when white models are on the cover of Sports Illustrated with their cheeks out, it's acceptable. Not that was an excellent point, but it's also just to push your personal brand forward. And so that's fine, but let's not act like you're advocating for the rights of black women when it's just about Nicki Minaj. Right. Always. So that's fine, that's cool. But like you said, I just feel like it's the right thing to say, but you're putting the argument behind Anaconda and Feeling Myself, and those they're just not strong enough it's not strong enough to propel it forward. People are gonna look at that and be like, girl,
right? It's not like a Kendrick Lamar all right or something we're talking about real issues here. It didn't advance
the culture. It didn't.
It's just booty, 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 booty.
Yeah. So did y'all see a woman in Houston? She went to go apply for a job, but she didn't have childcare, and so she left her children, and the job was at the mall, so she left her children in the food court, and her children were 6 and 2 years old. So she left them in the food court during the interview, but the food court, the way it was positioned from the place where she was applying, it was 30 feet away. So she was arrested for this. She was arrested and charged with child abandonment, and they took her children away from her temporarily, but then, gave them back to her. She's a college student. She's like 28. And, she's like, I don't know how the media is trying to portray me. She's like, but I know that I'm going to be something, and I'm just doing what I have to do to provide for my children. So what do you guys think about that? It's a tricky situation.
I don't know the laws in that area, so that could have contributed to her arrest and her kids temporarily being taken away. I think it was very risky for her to leave her kids there. They were small, 6 and 2. So that was risky because anybody could have walked up on your babies and walked away with them. At the same time, I think that childcare for working mothers is a big issue in this country. Right. And I know that my mom, when I was growing up, I had both my parents, but they worked a lot. And my mom used to have to work, and a lot of times she had to take me to work with her. And we had a family business, but I was at the cleaners, posted up, hey. Right. So I feel for this woman, and I think that maybe this can, trigger a larger discussion about, working moms in childcare, because it's not easy out here.
It's not.
I think it's also very difficult when you are trying to be something great, but then situations like these, people are then going to paint you. People always want to rally against the poor, especially single mothers who it's like, well, if you couldn't afford them, why did you have them? It's such a basic concept, but even women who have, really good salaries in terms of their scheduling, or just childcare is just too expensive, to be honest. So it's you have to think about it are you going to have a babysitter, or are we going to eat this week? And, it's just sad that in the first world that we have silly problems like this, that's the really sad thing about it, especially when she's a college student and it's not like she's just all right, I'm just going to roll up in that office and y'all can just stay outside. Here's some Auntie Annie's and be blessed.
I'm sure it was a hard decision. She had to make a hard decision. We either going to be broke, or I'm going to have to make this brief sacrifice, pray, cover y'all, and go in for this interview.
And it can happen. I can see y'all over there.
Right.
It can happen to anyone, because you never know, money's here today and it's really gone tomorrow. So you just never know, when you will be in that person's shoes.
Like you were saying, even when you have money, my sister, she's not a single mom per se, but her husband lives somewhere else right now. And when she just needs to do basic things, she either has to take my nephew with her, or she has to call, she has to ask the neighbor. There's a young girl, there's a neighbor who babysits, or she has to call his other babysitter. And she's it's a lot of, it's a lot. So I can't imagine when you don't have the resources to do that, when you don't have people who can watch them for you, my cousin, my mom, whoever can watch them for me. I feel like that's terrible, but I do think, like you said, this is the whole trying to find childcare for working moms is a big problem. And at the same time, I'm always wondering, would a job, at the same time, not, I'm thinking, would a job really, I would hope they wouldn't, judge you and be I don't want to give you this job if you walk up in there and you say, I'm so sorry. I really tried to find someone to watch my kids for this interview, but I could not. Do you mind if they are just sitting in the waiting area, or just sitting over here in the corner and we do this interview because I really need this job? You know what I mean? And that's not a shot against her. It's just a thought, because I feel like that always happens. People feel like they can't bring their kid into an establishment, a business establishment for an interview. And it's we end up then in these really terrible situations where it's well, I had to leave them there, but we don't know why. Why can't I bring my child in here? Granted, it's the same thing if they act a fool. Okay, you hope they don't do that. Right. But it's what can I do? You know what I'm saying? And that keeps happening. I had to do this job interview, so I had to leave my kids in my car.
It's common.
It's why?
Right.
Why can't I bring my kids in here? Yeah. Don't you think? And not to the mothers or even to the job, but just saying, I'm why? That's a good thing that I'm saying to you. I have these 2 kids that I really need to feed. I really need this job. I'm not using them as a pity to get this job, but I need to keep my eye on them. Can I please bring them in here? Why can't we do that? Why does it have to be like that?
But girl, you gotta, I'm even just the way we even treat children in society is very, people think kids are cute, but they're kind of a standoffish approach.
Right.
When you're on the plane, when you're in a restaurant, the minute a kid behaves like a child, it's get that baby out of here. People just have no patience, not forgetting that we were all children at one point or another. So
and the minute you leave them, it's oh, that poor child. Why would you leave them in the car? Because your ass don't want to talk to them. You don't want to look at them.
Exactly. And we just really need to reevaluate the way we see children as like baggage and burdens. You know what I'm saying? And we need to like really address that. Because if I can't find childcare, people know because that she left them because she was under the impression that if she brought them in, it would be a strike against her.
Like, oh, so you don't have solid childcare. So
exactly.
If I hire you, this and this is going to be a problem. You might be calling out because you can't find a babysitter.
Exactly.
It would have been a snowball.
That's what. To me, I feel like it's more of an indication of what we need to change about society more than it is on like condemning this one mother. Because I'm telling you, this stuff happens often.
Yeah.
And just because she got caught doesn't mean it doesn't. It happens often. So I don't even know if she should have been arrested for it. Like, to me, it's just like, she could have legally been arrested, I'm sure. But to me, if she explains the situation to the officer, I was 30 feet away, like, could you just...
And they're not hurt.
Right, could you cut me some... I mean, police officers aren't really in the pattern of doing that these days. But
not for black people.
Could you cut me some slack, please? Jesus. Thank you for watching this episode of Did Y'all See? For more videos like this one, be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/MadameNoire.